Welcome to Savvy Sense. I'm Emily.
And I'm Cassie.
And today is video 3 in our 4-part video series, and we're going to be talking about how to stop overspending on your budget. We have some unique and creative ideas to share, so make sure you stick around all the way to the end for those tips. We love to empower moms to become savvy savers, so make sure to hit like and subscribe to our channel. Tip number 1 is to keep a list of things that you want to purchase in a separate place, either in an app or on a piece of paper or maybe an Amazon cart. This has really helped me. I just keep a written list in my phone of things when things pop into my head of what I want to buy. And so the really good advantage of doing this and how it helps me to stop overspending is normally if I have something and I put it in my cart and buy it, it's really easy just to add more things, right, to your cart. So, or if you're buying like clothes for your kids and sometimes there's a shipping minimum, and so it's easy just to add a few things. This really helps me to mull it over and make sure it's something that I want. And so sometimes I take things off the list, and then sometimes I realize I really do need it. So keeping a separate list can really help with overspending and impulse purchasing. Cassie, have you found this to be true for you too?
Yeah, I do something similar. So we have a shopping app that I always put things into where if like we need kids clothes or something like that. So if I'm out and about shopping and I have a few minutes or I know I'm going into a store, I'm able to look at that and stay on track, and I'm not just going, ooh, what looks good? Yeah. What's on sale?
Right.
And I also do this for Amazon as well. So what I'll do is I'll add something to my cart and then I save it for later.
Yes.
And then what's nice is Amazon will sometimes at the top say if it's cheaper or more expensive, it'll let you know. And so then if the price drops a lot, I'll typically go ahead and add it. And then it's also a way for me to make sure it's something I really want. And so that way I'm able to cut down on impulse purchases and not buying stuff that I don't actually need.
Yeah, I know. Well, your tip of keeping the Amazon cart, I've started doing that now too. And my husband will go to buy something and he's like, what are all these things in here? And I'm like, those are my later things, maybes. So that's a great tip. All right, tip number 2 is to set appropriate budget amounts. And this one can be tricky because we know that life changes and that there's a lot going on. And sometimes we don't always know how much we spend in all of our categories. But it's something that's important because if we set our budget too low, then it's going to be really likely to overspend on it. So what have you found that's been helpful for you on how you kind of set those amounts?
So it's definitely taken a lot of trial and error over the years, and things definitely can fluctuate. Like my husband just took a promotion, so our gas category had to be increased quite a bit. So constantly reevaluating that. But in the beginning, what I did is I would basically add up all of our expenses for that specific category for that month, and then just try to stick to that amount, and then just like reassess it constantly and make sure it's okay. Our grocery bill definitely fluctuates, and that's something I'm always having to reassess, especially as things get more expensive. But just as long as I feel like as long as we're reassessing things, then it works out really well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And to your point, you said like when you're first starting, I think if you're first starting, kind of what I did too is like you can make a really good, try to make a good educated guess, right, based on what you know you spend your money on, but also just kind of tracking it for like a couple months and just seeing maybe what the average is of that and picking that budget amount for that category. And then also, as you were saying too, just reassessing when life changes. I know like for our school district, we just got free lunches for the kids. My kids are doing a couple free lunches a week, so we're able to stretch like our lunch, our grocery budget for our lunches a little bit longer, so I can reduce that. So I think it's just a matter of reevaluating, like you were saying.
Definitely.
But if you're just starting out, you can make a good educated guess by adding up your expenses for those categories. Tip number 3 is to create sinking funds. Sinking funds are allocating part of your money to be constantly saving for something in the future. And I am not the expert on this. Cassie is the one who taught me how to do this, so I'm going to let her talk to this at first and how this can help you not overspend.
Yes. So I love sinking funds. I always am like, I'm such a proponent of them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And what was happening for us, this is why we started them. Every year for Christmas, we were going way over. And so basically what I did is I went through 1 year and I calculated exactly how much we spent for Christmas. And then I divided that up by 12, and then that gave me a total that I needed to spend I needed to allocate in our budget every single month for Christmas specifically. And that was the birth of our sinking funds. And truly, sinking funds have been such an amazing part of our budget, because whenever we need something, we just save up for it every single month. And then, like, in no time, you basically have it set up, because you're taking that money and you're not even looking at it. And so you'll be really amazed at how fast you save up a good amount of money. And so Christmas became so much less stressful for us, because I wasn't having to figure out, well, what are we going to get rid of so that we can pay for this Christmas gift for somebody?
Right.
And so it really has been a wonderful asset for our family.
No, that's awesome. And we did not compare notes. I was going to use the same example.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
No, but I wanted to say that if you're watching this video and you really don't know much about sinking funds, make sure to check out her video on sinking funds. I'll link it below. It kind of goes through more of the logistics of, like, what you do, where you put your money when you spend it, and how to track it and all that, which is really, really important too, I think, because if you don't track it right, then there's really no purpose to it, right? So make sure to check that out. And, you know, like I said, we just started sinking funds about a year ago because of her. I've never used them, but I think the biggest thing that I love about them is it allows you to spend money on something without feeling guilty about it. Because, like, Christmas before, like she was saying, we would allocate some money aside, but I hadn't been saving for it, so it would just kind of come out of our savings. And I was like, oh, I don't want to spend that much. Let's spend a little less. And now I'm like, okay, I know I have this amount to spend. It's going to be fun to, like...
It's so freeing.
It's so freeing. You're like, yay, I can spend this money. And it's, like, set aside, and it's not coming out of my savings. So that is really huge in not overspending. Because, and same with birthdays. Like, I feel like we have birthday parties. We have our kids' birthdays. And instead of having that come out of my regular budget, it comes out of my sinking fund, and then I don't really go over.
Yep, definitely.
Because it's sometimes, like, birthday parties are unexpected.
Yep, absolutely.
You can't plan for that, and so sinking funds really help with that. So it's a great, great tip. Tip number 4 is to use cash instead of a debit card. And I would say that this is probably, like, the most for sure way to stop overspending, because it's a physical and tangible thing. If you have $300 set aside for groceries in an envelope, you can't really overspend once the money's gone, right? If you have a rule not to use any cards and just cash. So it's a really, really great tool if you're just starting out, living paycheck to paycheck, paying off debt, and you really can't overspend $1. You should use cash to do all of your budgeting with. We've tried this before in the past, and it really made a huge impact on our budget. We were able to save more money than we ever could. And I know that my mom's used it for years, and she's one of the most frugal people that I know. And so it really is an effective tool, I think, to not overspend. Have you ever tried it before? Yeah, actually, we also tried it a couple of years ago, and it was a game changer for our grocery budget. I feel like I'm talking about our grocery budget a lot, but I feel like that's an area where I definitely need to improve a lot more. And it was really great because we could not go over our grocery budget no matter what. So it helped us to be more mindful of what we were putting in our grocery cart so that we could save more at the end of the month. And I really feel like, and I know they've done studies about this, having cash and actually spending that cash is so much more of an experience than if you're just like swiping it, because you're like seeing your money go away. And so for me, it just made such an impact when we were spending our money. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we might have done that together. Yeah, we did do that together. We had a little challenge. We did do that together. It was awesome. So our love for budgeting runs deep. Yes, it does. It goes back many, many years. Tip number 5 is to find free distractions that help you not think about shopping and buying things you don't need. And so I've thought about this a lot in my life, because a few years ago I realized that I love buying used things and selling them on eBay. And it was such a fun hobby for me, and it ticked my box for shopping and spending money, and then it also I earned some money too. I remember as I would do it, I would think to myself, like, this is really making it so I'm not thinking about all the things that I want. And it's such a fun hobby. I love doing it. I haven't done it in a while, but I'm going to start doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so fun to have a hobby that distracts you from all the things that you want.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Have you found that, or what kinds of things do you think about when you think about finding free distractions?
Yeah, so for sure. So I will say I feel like a lot of my friends are always like, oh, I love dropping the kids off and like going to Target and just like wandering around. And I used to do that too.
Yes.
And then I realized I was just mindlessly putting stuff in our cart that like we didn't really need. And this year we've really adopted the motto for our family of simplicity. And we've really like taken that on in many areas of our life. And that has been so helpful to me, because I will say, sometimes when I drop the kids off at school, I'm like, ooh, I want to go to the Dollar Tree and like see what they have and like see what we can do, because I love to craft and do stuff like that. And I'm like, I bet you they have some fun crafts and it's only $1. But truly, like, those little purchases do add up. And so I'll distract myself. I'll be like, you know what? I have fallen in love with walking recently, and I'll be like, you know what? I don't need anything there. I'm going to go home and take a walk and take our dog. And that for me has really been important for me and has started feeding my soul, basically. So it's so important to find stuff for you that you enjoy, that is free for you, like Emily was able to do and like I was able to do, because it really makes it so much easier to distract yourself from spending money, honestly.
Yeah, and I like what you said too. I mean, I don't only just buy things and flip them. There's other distractions too, and I think it's really important that when you realize that you can distract yourself from buying things, it brings joy. Yeah. And it can bring peace to your, like you were saying, like feed your soul, you know? So I think it's good to step away from that mentality of like always needing more. Yes. And that kind of leads into our next video topic, which is not being influenced by our surroundings and media to always want more and to buy things that we don't need, right?
Absolutely.
And so make sure to stick around and watch that.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe to be a part of our community here, and we would love to hear from you in the comments. If you guys could just let us know how you avoid ways of overspending, that would be great. We would love to learn different ways from you.
Make sure to tune into next week's video on how not to be influenced to buy stuff. You won't want to miss it, right?
Right.
I just tripped on the chair.
If you could just write a